Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere. On air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools. Redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's All Noise Radio's Sports Talk with Bye.
Down goes Frazier. He scores! High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
Welcome to the show, Sports Talk with the Sport. On All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I'm your host, the G. All hour, you can call in, tune into the show, 856-330-4749, or let me know your opinions through the internet. Hit me up on Twitter, hashtag at the Yossi G, or send me a message to my Facebook account, Sports Talk with the .com/Sports Talk. We have a lot to talk about, not a lot of time to take care of it, and right off the bat we have Ilya Kovalchuk. Now, this is a guy who, up until last week, played for the New Jersey Devils. Then he goes ahead, signs a piece of paper of his voluntary retirement at the ripe old age of 30 years old. Tells the New Jersey Devils, with whom he signed a monstrous contract, left $77 million on the table in order to retire, to spend more time with his family. Now, if anybody in the world said that that was the last time they were going to see Ilya Kovalchuk playing professional hockey, you know that he or she, whoever it was that may have said that, should be checked right into a mental institution. I think there was probably a bet in Las Vegas, maybe a 2-1 odds that Ilya Kovalchuk would have signed with the Russian team in the Continental Hockey League within 2 weeks of making that announcement of his retirement from the Devils. Sure enough, not a week and a half go by, and Kovy is headed to SKA St. Petersburg with a 4-year contract. The same team he played with during the lockout and had, obviously, a love affair with the city, a love affair with the team, and a lot of difficulty coming back to the NHL after the lockout situation was resolved. Certainly, what then ends up happening is he gets a taste for what it's like playing in his home country of Russia and decides, you know what, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to play. I don't want to go back to the NHL really for that much longer, but I have this whole contract. Yet, with St. Petersburg, he signs a contract 4 years in the prime of his career. The question, of course, now begs, does this mean war? Does Gary Bettman and the NHL go to war with the Continental Hockey League, with the KHL, over this? Now, quite frankly, there are those of the opinion that they certainly will be going to war over this because Kovy is a player that is not easily replaceable. You're talking about a guy who scored 40-plus goals 5 times in his career and topped the 50 mark twice. A guy who can skate, a guy who can shoot, a guy who certainly knows how to play the point, the sniper position, knows what he's doing with the puck. Now, when you look at what he brought to the table, the added fans, the people who came to the arena to watch him, when they were on the road, the people who would go to watch, even if the team sucked, but to go watch the Devils come to town because they had Kovalchuk. Now he's in Russia. I really don't think this is going to be war with the KHL in terms of a Cold War what the United States and the USSR had, the Soviet Union had before Perestroika, before 1990, 1991. So I don't think that it's necessarily war in that sense, but it does beg noteworthiness between the NHL and the KHL in terms of what the KHL can offer some of the higher prized players in the NHL, especially the Russians. Just like the American player may not want to go to Russia because it's so far from home. The same thing with the Russians. They may not want to go back to the United States, to go back to North America to play in the NHL because it's so far from home. They may then end up just either bolting to Russia or staying in the KHL, staying in Russia, and not ever going to the United States and Canada to play in the NHL. Some of the teams in the KHL are able to offer contracts that the NHL teams cannot match for whatever reasons, be it the CBA, be it cap constraints, or be it simply that they don't feel that player is even worth it in terms of overpaying for said player. There's, of course, rumors that Sergei Bobrovsky is going to leave the NHL for the KHL, but again, this all begs a big eagle's eye to keep an eye on this situation of NHL to KHL player bolting. Ilya Kovalchuk certainly setting the tone. Timing, I think, is perfect for him because it's after the season, so he doesn't feel like he's stabbing the Jersey Devils in the back after everything that they did, after everything they gave up for him. I mean, you're talking about a team that originally signed him to one 15-year deal that was nixed by the NHL. And because they tried to sign him to such a deal, the NHL penalized the Devils with a draft pick. So when you talk about Kovalchuk, not only has he not played up to par for the Devils, not only does he leave a lot of money on the table, but the Devils now, for the next bunch of years, are going to be penalized $250,000 a year annually for the rest of the length of this Covey contract through 2024 or 2025 because Covey had this early retirement leaving for the KHL, and they're still stuck with this penalization of a draft pick in next year's draft because of this whole Covey conundrum that happened before they ended up signing him to the 12-year contract. So you want to call Ilya Kovalchuk the gift that keeps on giving? By all means. I would actually say it's the gift that kept on taking. Certainly for Covey, this is perfect timing because you have the Winter Olympics coming up next year in Sochi, Russia, in his hometown, and the endorsement deals that are possible here. I mean, you're talking in millions and millions of dollars, or in this case, millions and millions of ruble for Covey because he simply bolted on a team that went all out for him. A team that gave up a lot in order to get about 2 years worth of service from Covey. 2.5 years. Big risk. And this is also going to serve now as a reminder to other GMs in the NHL to be careful what A, you wish for, and B, you might be getting when it comes to the Russians. You might get somebody who just might be wishing to go home. And you know what happened with Dorothy? She skipped all along the Yellow Brick Road until she got to Oz, and then clicked her heels a couple times until she returned home. Well, that's what may end up happening with the NHL. They may skip along the green road to the NHL, to this wonderful multi-billion dollar entity, but multi-million dollar payday, prove their worth to their comrades back at home in Russia, then be offered an exorbitant amount of money in a contract that the NHL cannot match. Well, click your heels a couple times and see what happens. You may just end up with something like that. In terms of the NHL Players Association, we are hearing that rumors of Donald Fair, the current Players Association executive director, current NHLPA head, that he may be going back to Major League Baseball, to their Players Association, to serve as its executive director like he had during the 90s and early 2000s before he came to the NHL. If Sir Donald goes back to the Major League Baseball, that will serve the owners a wondrous coup without them actually having to spill any blood. I think that would be awesome for the owners' part, especially if the brother of Donald, Steve Fair, his assistant, who's been rumored to be the front runner for the Players Association, if he takes that job. I think that what will end up happening if Steve Fair takes the NHLPA executive director leadership role, that it may end up turning into a little Bob Goodenow in a way, a little, I don't want to say a coward, but somebody who will kind of go into his little hole and, the NHL owners will say jump and he'll just say how high. Screw the players over, Major League. I think what the NHLPA should be doing, if indeed Donald Fair will leave for the greener pastures of Major League Baseball, or rather return to the MLBPA, is the NHLPA should really give long consideration to Paul Kelly, the U.S. Hockey Executive Director. He is somebody who there was rumors before Donald Fair came aboard that would take over that role, and indeed had that role for a short amount of time. If he comes back and he's elected as the NHLPA head, I don't think that there will be heads butting between Paul Kelly and Gary Bettman, because they have a real great deal of respect for one another. And happening between Mr. Kelly and Misters Kelly and Bettman is that they will both see each other on an even playing field, on an eye-to-eye, mano-a-mano, and they will come to terms as gentlemen before the next labor agreement ends, before there is a possibility for labor strife to actually take hold in the NHL again. And what Kelly will do is he will help Bettman guide the NHL through another possible decade of labor-free strife, or non-labor strife. And when the NHL does this, it will show that they've taken a real step ahead, a real step away from the NHL of old, from the NHL of the 90s, from the NHL of the early 2000s. And they are really taking this next step in making a league better for the players, by the players, in order to take that step in challenging some of the other professional sports on the North American landscape as not being their little baby brother anymore. It'll challenge basketball. It'll challenge the NFL. It might even challenge Major League Baseball. Certainly will keep soccer away from challenging the NHL, and it'll give the NHL a reason to say, join us. Come watch our game, because we're here for a long time. We'll be here for a while. You're listening to Sports Talk with the Sports Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. On the other side of this commercial, we'll be talking about somebody who means a lot to me and the 1-year anniversary of a horrible incident. I'll be right back.
Honey, again you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that?
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com. Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day? Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Thanks, CSB. Welcome back. It's the Sports Rabbi here. Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Now, when we are talking about all of this that's been going on the last week and a half or so with everything with the George Zimmerman and the Trayvon Martin, it also notes and gives a lending ear to things that have been going on also, or something that will be coming up this week. We are going to be having this Saturday the 1-year anniversary of the horrific Aurora shooting in Colorado that took the life of somebody who is, although I personally did not meet her, but I feel like there is a near and dear connection to Jessica Gowie, also known as Redfield. And with us on the line is the Colorado Avalanche beat writer and Sports Illustrated, SI.com columnist, Adrian Dater. Adrian, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Good to be with you, Yossi.
So, Adrian, now I got to ask you, what was it like that day last year when the shooting happened? What was it like in Colorado?
What was it like? Well, not very much fun. I think it happened late at night, and everybody kind of learned about it in the morning, and or at least a lot of people like me when I woke up. And, at first I was just seeing the news like anyone else, and then I started getting a few tweets and stuff with mentioning Jessica's name, and then I immediately thought, oh no, what happened? And then we learned what happened. It was a terrible day. I mean, it's been tough. I knew her, and I'm not very good with that kind of stuff at all. So it's been difficult for me to even think about. But we're trying to celebrate Jessica's life as best we can and carry on her hopes and dreams through other people. And there's been a lot of great things that have been done since then that are making that happen.
Right, and we know that she covered the Avalanche for 104.3 The Fan in Denver, and she also did some production work for the Denver TV network Altitude Sports, and of course wrote for hockey in blogs and whatnot that she had. What was her effect? When you read about Jessica, when you hear about different things that she did. She comes across as the type of girl who anybody can become a friend with her relatively or rather quickly. What type of a person was she from all the experiences that you had, the interaction that you had with her?
Well, she was, very ambitious girl who I've said this since this happened, but it made me think more. She reminded me of myself. She was like a 23-year-old female version of myself at that time. And that's why I think I took to her a little more than most people. I mean, I try to help anybody who asks me questions about how to get into business. I always like to try and do that, but. She was somebody who really did go for it, and I was a kid from New Hampshire who just suddenly moved to Denver all of a sudden in my early 20s after just basically trying to get a new life for myself, and moved all the way up to Denver with no job or anything, and just all I had was my ambition, really. And she did the same thing, trying to get a job in the hockey business, in the journalism business. So I saw so much of her in myself, and I tried to help her along a little bit. And she was somebody who loved hockey, but she also wanted to really, be a journalist about it. And she was on her way. She was not a full-time writer or on TV or anything full-time yet or on the radio, but she was. She had a lot of internships and that kind of stuff. But she was definitely on her way to getting a job in the business, a full-time job, and that's what's so sad about it. We didn't get to see that. But, a couple of weeks before the terrible thing happened, I actually went out with Jessica to meet. We met at an old-time pinball joint, 70s video game, 80s video game place that I like downtown. And the purpose of, I said, hey, she was networking and stuff. She wanted to learn more about the business and what my life, how I got there. And I knew that. So I said, all right, I'll come meet you. We hung out for like 2 hours and talked, had a couple drinks and just talked about the business. And I just told her, just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be fine. But she really was impatient to get there. And I said, look, you're going to have to show. I know it's not going to happen overnight, maybe, but you just keep doing what you're doing. It'll be fine. And we talked some about the difficulties she was having, too, as a female and trying to work in the business. And sports is still a little bit of a chauvinistic place, so she was dealing with some of that too. But she was going to be fine. And that was the last I saw her. 2 weeks later, I got the horrible news.
Now, like I was saying before, we read all about the stories, and of course those who have, had the opportunity to meet her, and of course, here on the line is Adrian Dater, the Colorado Avalanche beat writer and a columnist for SI.com. When you see her, or saw her rather, interacting with the players, what gave her that edge? What do you think drew the players to her versus somebody else that they would talk to? Because we heard how, for example, Matt Duchene has had a lot to do with her family post this whole horrific event, with donating to the different programs that were created after she was murdered. But what did you see with some of the players, such as Matt, as well as perhaps some of the others, that drew them to her?
Well, she was not. She was just like anybody else in the locker room doing her job. She was always very striking, of course, and she usually wore like a red dress. I remember, very bright with her bright red hair. She stood out for sure. You definitely noticed her right away, and firecracker was her personality, and that's kind of what she looked like a little bit too in a way. So guys, guys aren't going to be warming up to anybody who doesn't know the game. The biggest reason why I think some guys warmed up to her and respected her after a while was that she knew the game of hockey. It wasn't because she was pretty or anything like that. In fact, oftentimes that's a detriment to women in trying to make it in the business. And that's something she had to deal with too. But she just not about hockey, and anybody who knows the game is going to be respected in the locker room if you really know it and know what you're talking about when you ask your questions, and she did, and that's why she fit right in.
Well, I do know that from what I've read and have heard testament about Jessica, that I would be very remiss for her memory's sake if I didn't ask you at least one hockey question. And everything that's going on right now in hockey, specifically with what happened with Ilya Kovalchuk going retiring from the New Jersey Devils and then going to St. Petersburg, signing a contract there in middle of his prime. Do you see the Covey move, this jumping of ship from the NHL to the KHL, to the Continental Hockey League, as perhaps war between the two leagues?
No, I don't think it's war. But I think there's going to be these occasional guys who do that. I do think it is a little worrisome about Russians, though, who are going to obviously get more of an offer probably to play there than your typical other guy. Your typical Canadian guy. These guys they're Russians, so when they go to the NHL, naturally Russians are going to think that they've lost their own son. Well, now they have a league to go back to, and of course some of them are going to be very tempted to go back. That's their own country. So, but I mean, let's face it. This is a little bit different scenario. This team really paid him a lot of money. He's going to make more there than he was in the NHL. So let's not kid ourselves. It's still about money. I don't think that's going to be the key. I don't think that that kind of offer is going to be everyday kind of thing with players. And I think the NHL will be able to match or exceed most of those kind of offers, but maybe not all every time. I mean, you get a guy like, let's say, in the next, Evgeny Malkin comes along, or Ovechkin who comes out of there. Maybe they're going to be sort of tempted to go back and play for all those rules that they offer there. Yeah, I mean, obviously more competition leads to more opportunities for these players. That's what happened to, the only reason salaries went up for NHL players in the 70s finally was because the World Hockey Association came along and started throwing money at our guys and stole many of them away, including Bobby Hull. And, but the rush of the KHL is a little bit different because in Russia, a lot of guys are not going to want to go live in Russia. Just so far away from home, probably. The league, let's face it, is never going to be the NHL quality. The best players in the world are still going to want to play in the NHL. And so therefore, I don't think it's ever going to be a major threat to the league's, existence or anything. But it's another outlet for players, and they're going to pick off the occasional player probably.
Oh, that's an interesting observation because, with everything that the NHL has gone through, the, instability in a sense with the Players Association, with the owners as well, it certainly leads to be carefully tracked in the years to come. Again, Adrian, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day, and I know as well the relationship that you, and I'm sure a lot of the other writers and people who are all around Colorado sports this weekend is going to be one to be taken to heart. Thank you again for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I was going to add, there's a scholarship in Jessica's name that anybody ever wants to take a look at it, maybe donate a few bucks. Look for Jessica Redfield Foundation on Google, and you'll see her website and foundation. It goes to a great cause. They've already got a couple people going on their new careers through that foundation. So check it out. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you again. And as always, that was Adrian Dater, the SportsIllustrated.com beat writer, SportsIllustrated.com columnist and Colorado Avalanche beat writer. Always, one for the entertaining comment, but on this case and on this show today, it's more for something that comes from the heart. Saturday will be the 1-year anniversary of the Aurora, Colorado movie shooting, which took many lives, as well as the life of 24-year-old Jessica Gowdy Redfield. As Adrian said, there is the Jessica Redfield Foundation for the female journalist, for an aspiring female journalist. If you want to check that out, punch that into Google. I'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks. You're listening to Sports Talk with the All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
All Noise Radio. The noise. The noise you can't ignore.
Welcome back, Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, we open up the phone lines to your chimes, to your calls, 856-330-4749, or send me a text message, hit me up on Twitter at the Yossi G, or send me a message to Facebook, my Facebook page, facebook.com/sports talk with the Sports Rabbi. And we have a chime in from Mo from Brooklyn. He says, hey, I'm a big Flyers fan, and I really love the move that they made with bringing Hextall back to the orange and black. Well, guess what? Mo, here's the deal with that. Hextall was, as everybody knows in Philly, was a really good player. Goaltender, actually even had a couple goals scored 2 goals in his career, but as a high office type, as a management type, he, I think, may even succeed beyond his playing, beyond what he did as a player for the Flyers. Now remember this, he's already won a cup with being an assistant GM, with being a management type in Los Angeles with the Kings. So, of course, the question is going to be, will he take over Paul Holmgren? Will he eventually succeed Paul Holmgren as the GM in Philadelphia? Of course, that is something that remains to be seen because he doesn't have any experience in the GM role. He has some experience as the assistant, and that's what he's being brought in here for, to bring his expertise from Los Angeles, to bring his expertise from being with other, successful players and former players, to bring that with him to Philadelphia, to have the Flyers no longer be playing second fiddle to champions, to have the Flyers become a championship organization. I think this move is fantastic for the Flyers, both from a fan standpoint. The fans love Ron Hextall, and also from a management standpoint. Simply, the guy has been around teams, has been around players who've won championships, and that's the whole name of this game in the NHL, is, of course, to win the Stanley Cup. So, in terms of Paul Holmgren having hired his successor, it'll be interesting. We'll have to see first what type of role he takes on, what aspects he will have to take care of as the assistant GM. That's for sure. In terms of what he brings to the table, it's that experience that he has had as a management type in Los Angeles, but on a Stanley Cup winning franchise. We have another chime in from Pete from Long Island. Says, "Hey, I have a hard time believing that Covey left the NHL for the KHL for any other reason besides for the money." Of course, that's why he left the NHL. Covey says he left the NHL because he wanted to spend more time with his family. True, but it's more than that. He can now cash in majorly, big rubles, major bucks. He has no high taxes that he has to pay anymore in New Jersey. And he also has the Olympics coming to Sochi next winter. So just for those two things alone, the next year and a half, 2 years alone, it's big bucks. So the fact that he left the NHL for the KHL, certainly that was for the money. Of course it was for the money. Are you kidding me? We have here a chime in from Bob. Says, I'm interested to see where Miller goes. Buffalo announced that he would be there for training camp, but do they really want him out? I think Buffalo ends up selling him to the highest bidder. What do you think? Well, that's a good question. You know, in terms of Ryan Miller, what happens with him? I mean, this guy can play. He's played in the Olympics. He's represented the United States. He's done good. The question, of course, is in the playoffs. He's been questionable in the playoffs. He's had really good seasons. But when it comes to the postseason, it's a big question mark. There's a lot of change going on now in Buffalo. Different new coach, same GM, but new coach, different players. It's going to be a good question, a good seeing as to where or what will end up with Ryan Miller, if they're going to keep him for another year or two, or if they are going to trade him, get him out of Buffalo with as much value in return as they can, while Ryan Miller still has a lot of that value. Now, when you talk about this whole trading thing and all these different players, there are a lot of things that come on and things like that. We have a quote here that somebody just tweeted me with such notable highlights, like getting injured while eating pancakes, causing Kings GM to drop some golden quotes, and turning in a solid playoff beard. I'm still not sure what that's supposed to mean. But, okay, sure. When you talk about the NHL and everything that's been going on, there seems to be a lot of change that likely can come about because of this whole COVID thing to the KHL, and, of course, the question marks that are always the off-season. But I want to talk about other change. And this is with the NFL, and it's not so much that it's changed because it's the New York Jets, and the Jets are same old Jets. And they are also thinking about turning Geno Smith into what Tim Tebow was supposed to be. Geno Smith taken in the second-round, quarterback out of West Virginia, and want to turn him into a running quarterback, kind of a change up the pace type of a quarterback that they wanted Tim Tebow, or at least what they explained that the reason why they brought in Tim Tebow, which of course we all knew was really just to sell seats. Now, have the Jets ever really even seen Geno Smith play? That really is the question. I mean, has a scouting staff, have they ever watched Geno Smith? I really don't think so. I don't think the Jets have actually ever seen Geno Smith take one snap of the football in his playing career at West Virginia. Maybe they watched some tape, but live, not one snap. If they actually saw Geno Smith taking a snap or two or three or even a game in at West Virginia while he was playing there, if the scouting staff of the Jets actually saw that, they would know that he is only, in his career, is a 1.4 yards per rush type of a quarterback. 245 rushing attempts garnered him 342 yards. Geno Smith is not a running quarterback. He can scramble. He can try to make something out of nothing. But he is not a running quarterback. I don't think you call a running quarterback somebody who throws for 73 touchdown passes and only rushes for 4. That's right. In his career at West Virginia, Geno Smith rushed for 4 touchdowns. Threw for 73. That's why he was thought to be going in the early or mid first round, but for whatever reason dropped to the second round to the New York Jets. And if you want to see how crazy this idea is of the Jets putting Geno Smith, a pocket quarterback, a throwing quarterback, into the rushing quarterback, trying to turn him into something that he's not, essentially screwing up his rookie season that he should be watching, learning what to do and what not to do. Think about it like this. It's like the Eagles playing Matt Barkley at wide receiver, the quarterback they drafted. It's like playing him at wideout in his rookie season. Yeah, you could probably catch a pass. That's ridiculous. That is stupidity beyond. That is crazy. It is silly. It is what insert adjective, insert verb here. What the Jets are doing is they are proving, if this is what turns out to be correct, if they actually will have Geno Smith running plays as opposed to throwing plays, this is the Jets, and they have just proven again that they are not the place for quarterbacks to go. This is a team that is toxic. This is a team that if quarterbacks go, they will be swallowed. This is where quarterbacks go to end their careers. This is a place where quarterbacks go to retire. The only way I can see this happening is if they bring in somebody who's along the lines of Josh McDaniels, who is now in New England, a quarterback guru. Perhaps why the Patriots went ahead and got Tebow, because McDaniels drafted him and knows something about him and can do something with Tebow that, of course, the Jets could not. The Jets do this, they will have branded themselves as the team that no quarterback should ever want to play for. On that note, the Jets also have drafted in this past draft Oday Aboushi. He's a offensive lineman, a Palestinian zealot, an extremist. And this is a lineman who has called for the death of Jews, who has called for the rise of a Palestinian state, but encompassing the entire land, that both of where the Western Gaza is, as well as the state of Israel, in essentially denying Israel's right to exist. Now, it's a very touchy subject when you bring politics into sports, and especially politics that is mostly of the feeling type of a nature versus the thinking type of a nature. This is something the Jews and the Palestinians, the Israelis and the Palestinians rather, is something that people are going to argue with one another, not really using their heads. They will be using their emotions, and in an emotional argument, you cannot win. What's going to happen is one of two things. Either the Jets will have too much pressure from their fan base, from the Jewish contingency that supports the New York Jets, that they will be forced to approach Aboushi and say, either you tone it down or we're going to have to release you. Or the Jets will give the proverbial middle finger to everybody and say, listen, we got the guy because he can play offense. He can play the line. If you don't like what his political viewpoints are on something specific, that's your problem. And most likely that is what the Jets are going to end up doing, because they want to distance themselves from even more of a circus on their team, from even more of a debacle. Likely what they will end up doing is telling everybody to go shove it. He is on our team. If he can play, we have him. If he cannot play, we'll release him. Simple as that. You can agree with it. You don't have to agree with it. I don't care. That's probably what's going to end up happening. And in terms of what he can see, what he can do, we'll watch. We'll see what happens once the season starts, if he actually ever even gets a snap to play on the offensive line. We'll see what he can bring to the table. I think what ends up happening is his play will end up deciding his career, his future. The first Palestinian player, the first person to come from that segment of the world to play, or rather to be drafted by an NFL team. There's a lot of pressure riding on him without all these other shenanigans that he has, all this other mishigas that he puts out there. And I think what will end up happening is that he'll have to tell himself, either I stop doing all this other extracurricular stuff because it'll just take up too much time of my day and too much of my attention, or my play will start slipping and I will eventually be cut. It's a decision that's going to end up playing into Ode Abushi's own judgment and his own character to see what ends up coming out of it. When I come back, we'll talk a little baseball and we'll get some more of your texts, tweets, and maybe some phone calls. You're listening to Sports Talk with the Sports on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Welcome back to Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Before we get into this whole baseball talk and the All-Star Game and Mariano Rivera, there are still a couple things that have been left that have still needed to be tied up into a nice little bow and then delivered in the NFL. Now, when we remember a couple weeks ago how Aaron Hernandez, the whole situation with him and how he's accused of first-degree murder and everything else that goes with that. A couple days ago, the Pouncey twins, Marquise, the center for Pittsburgh, and Mike, the center for Miami, were seen in a club wearing free Hernandez caps. Now, what they really brought to the table by wearing these caps was showing how ghetto rap and hip-hop and all of that has become a mainstream thing in our culture in today's society. The issue with that is it also shows how if you want to go ahead and support your friend, support your former teammate, somebody who they played with at Florida, at the University of Florida, instead of doing that by going out to a club and having these types of caps that are both bad taste and offensive, really, quite frankly, to the family of Odin Lloyd. What they should have done if they really feel like they wanted to go ahead and support their friend was go visit him in prison, write to him, perhaps give his family some support, his fiance, baby daughter. Don't wear the free Hernandez caps. This is just another point, another proof as to how the world of hip-hop, how rap and everything that goes with it is corroding sports, is corroding our society. When you have people who go ahead after everything that we know that happened, everything that we know that happened to this point in the Odin Lloyd story, the Aaron Hernandez saga, and still they go around parading free Hernandez on caps. That's how you know. I mean, this is hip-hop at its best. All blinged out, big tattoos. Come on, guys. What happened? What happened to society? What's going on? Feel free to chime in. Call in to the studio, 856-330-4749, or send me a Twitter message at the Yossi G, or hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. What is going on in today's society? That's what I want to know from you. Well, we have a chime in here now from Jim. Jim in Maryland says that this is in bad taste and poor judgment from the Pouncey twins. Perhaps the NFL should do something about it. Well, the NFL already does something about it. They have the rookie symposium where Herm Edwards delivers his best "thou shalt not do, thou shalt not be fine doing." But maybe you're right, Jim. Maybe you're right. Maybe the NFL needs to do something a little bit more. But what are they going to do a little bit more? When you have people like Jay-Z who are going around throwing the N-word all over the place as if it's no longer a derogatory word and it should now be championed and it should be at the forefront and everybody should be N-word this and N-word that. And guess what? It's at the fabric of our society. No matter how much you go ahead and put some sort of batter on the N-word and I don't know, cook it up real nice and serve it, it's still going to taste like garbage. Because that's what the N-word is. It's a load of garbage. It's what the slave owners used to call the slaves back in the 17 and early 1800s, so they could feel okay calling them and treating them like dirt, like animals, because that's a lesser form of human, is by calling somebody the N-word. But if you go ahead and you say that it's okay, it's all good, and not only that, you are now an agent. You are now a professional sports agent, specifically that being Jay-Z, then of course it's going to rot away at our core fabric of being, of professionalism, of sports, of athletes. It's just wrong. And there's no other way to put it. If the Pouncey twins, I know that they go ahead and they said their apology, and okay, fine, they're young and it happens. Okay, they give the apology. All right, we move on. But it shows, this specific example shows on a greater problem that is within the NFL. And that is of this hip-hop culture. And that's undermining the fabric of the athletes. And you didn't see this 20 years ago. Certainly not. Well, here's the deal. I mean, we're going to move on to baseball for now. But if you want to chime in on what your thoughts are on the Pouncey twins and on this Free Hernandez stuff, chime in. Give us a call, 856-330-4749, or send me a Twitter message or Facebook message. Twitter handle is TheYossiG, Facebook.com/Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Baseball, we now have this issue here in Philadelphia, Greater Philadelphia, with the Phillies. Buyers or sellers? It's been the issue for the last couple weeks now, actually. Should they bring in more players to make that playoff push, or should they sell house like a hot potato? Should they sell their team off like the Florida Marlins do after each season that they won the World Series? Well, now it comes into a big question, because even though they've been peaking, and hopefully not peaking for Phillies fans, but they've been streaking, Ben Revere now is out for 6 to 8 weeks with a foot injury. What do the Phillies have to do in order to replace somebody like him? Now remember, he had a really bad April. Everybody was haggling on him and hagging on the GM, Ruben Amaro Jr., for bringing him into the Phillies nation. But since May 1st, he's been playing really well. So, now with the new wildcard format, it limits the Philadelphia Phillies trade partners, because it used to be that you had one wildcard slot and that's it, but now you have two wildcard slots. So the Phillies are very much limited to who the trade partners can be, and of course the available players. Well, I think the best options for them would be from Chicago, from the White Sox, either Alex Rios or Alejandro De Aza. Rios is batting .270, has a .326 on-base percentage and a .429 slugging percentage before the All-Star break. The problem with him is he is 32 years old, so he is getting a little older, and he has $25 million owed to him over the next 2 years. The good thing for Rios, though, is that he hasn't really been an injury type of a guy. He's not really been injury prone. He's played in over 152 games since each season since 2007, and he's a right-handed bat, and that could split up the left-handers Dominic Brown and, when he comes back, Ryan Howard in the lineup. With DeAza, he's only owed a little bit more than $2 million for this year, but he's also eligible for salary arbitration this year and next year. More of your as a natural center fielder, but he's going to cost a lot more prospects than Rios because he's also younger than Rios. Batting, he's got 12 home runs this year, .422 slugging percentage, but the big question mark with him is that he loves chasing balls. So many that he's got 90 strikeouts in 88 games thus far this season for the White Sox. So I think Rios is the better of the two options to bring in for the Phillies to replace Ben Revere while Revere recovers from his broken foot. But in terms of dollars and cents, straight up dollars and cents, they would be better with DeAza because it won't cost them as much money. It'll cost them prospects. And that's the big question that Ruben Amaro Jr. has to ask himself. Does he want to give up prospects? Is he okay with that? Or would he rather tie up money, which then will not allow him to bring in players? Now, the thing is, though, if he ties up money, he could always trade some of those players, some of that money next season if the Phillies turn out to be sellers next season. Then he can always trade those players away while they still have value. He could trade away the likes of Ryan Howard. He could trade away if they bring in Alex Rios. He can trade him away. He can trade away the Chase Utley. He can trade away the Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay to really rebuild from scratch and to get all that money off the books. So in terms of the Phillies and what they have to do, I think that in order, if you really want to be that contender that you think you can, that a lot of the fans think that you can be, certainly then what ends up happening is you should bring in somebody who is you definitely need a reliever. That's for sure. There are mid-level relievers available, but you need somebody who has the cojones to actually close all game. Because it turns out that right now, Jonathan Papelbon, the closer for the Phillies, is almost as reliable as the weather is in Melbourne, Australia. I mean, this guy, he can pitch perfectly like Mariano Rivera one day and then just drop house like somebody who's never thrown a pitch to a baseball player in his life. You have to bring in somebody who can be a solid relief pitcher, either a setup man or a closer. And you have to bring in somebody for Ben Revere to bring the defense, the speed, and the bat that Ben Revere has been showing over the last couple of weeks in Philly for the Phillies. Trade for Java and trade for Rios. That, I think, is the answer for the Philadelphia Phillies' problems right now. Next week, hopefully we will have on some special guest who has been trying to get on, but for whatever reason has not been able to get on till now. And, of course, we will always be taking your questions, your calls, your tweets, your comments. You're listening to Sports Talk with the All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Until next time, stay truthful, stay fun, and always look out for the good time.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.